Welcome back to Rewind of the Living Dead. I'm Damon Martin.
And I'm Citizen Patrick.
And Patrick, tonight we are reviewing a movie that's been long rumored to come out, long talked about to come out, and made its debut like 2 years ago. And it's actually now landing in theaters for the first time. The Toxic Avenger.
Yes, Damon, the Toxic Avenger rises again. Released in August of 2025, starring the likes of Julia Davis as Kissy, Elijah Wood as Fritz Garbinger, Kevin Bacon as Bob Garbinger, Macon Blair as Dennis. Let's see here. Who else we got? Taylor Page as JJ Doherty, Jacob Tremblay as Wade, and Peter Dinklage starring as Winston, aka the Toxic Avenger himself. Damon, written and directed by Macon Blair, based off of characters created by Lloyd Kaufman and Joe Ritter. Damon, this is a podcast first. We are talking about a trauma movie. I'm sure there's a lot of people in our audience where they're like, it's about fucking time.
Yeah, it's funny because Trauma is such a famous studio to horror and really just like B movie fans. You don't really be a horror
Yeah.
fan, you B movie fans. Fans who love those like really schlocky, bad effects, bad acting, kind of on purpose. Not necessarily they're like, it's just bad acting. It's on purpose. And the movies that used to be straight to what you would call straight to DVD or straight to streaming, but now they're very much beloved industry films. And I read a thing today while I was doing research for this movie, Patrick. I don't know if it's true, so I don't want to, speak in his testament. That Trauma is the longest running indie studio in Hollywood. I didn't know that. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I was like, it sounds right because they've been around forever. Because if you actually do research in the studios, they change constantly. So that being the longest running indie studio from like the late 70s going to the 80s, it might be true.
It's kind of amazing. And it's one of those things like I grew up on the early Toxic Avenger stuff. And I don't know about you, Damon, because I'm a little kid of the 1980s. So in the 1980s, the big thing was like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Also, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles takes place in New York, and I was just a kid who was like obsessed with like New York movies in general. So that whole scene was like really vibing with me. And then when I saw the Toxic Avenger, I was like, "Oh, cool! It's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but like live action with a bunch of dudes from over the river in Jersey." Like it's just that, but it's this other thing, and it's very schlocky. It's super B movie. And I got to tell you, I came into tonight feeling a lot less pressure than I normally do. Because when you get into a trauma movie, and a lot of people know that here that are listening to us, you just turn your brain off and you go, forget about it. I'm in a trauma movie. All bets are off. It's schlock. It's silly. It's goofy. You know what you're buying into. You go to McDonald's, you order a Big Mac, you know what you're getting. It's exactly the same way with a trauma movie. But I was so curious. I was like, what the heck is Macon Blair gonna do with this thing? Because those movies, they're not meant for like the movie theaters anymore. They're really not. They're meant as like a midnight movie for a bunch of like hardcore schlock fans who go and like throw popcorn at the screen. Like it's a whole different era and storytelling style of movie. So I was like, what the hell are they going to do with it? Damon, I'm going to tell you right now what Macon Blair did with it is he made it his own while still very much so using the template of a standard trauma movie. I gotta tell you, Damon, some trauma movies are unwatchable. Like you just turn them off because they're too damn stupid. Macon Blair was like, okay, hold on. Let me at least give you a story that makes sense and give you motivation that makes sense, but I'm still gonna wrap it up in a trauma movie. And for me, that was I guess I breathed a sigh of relief. I was like, I know I'm going to see a bad movie, but how bad are we talking? And I was like, oh, not that bad actually. Actually, it's fine.
So we must have seen two different movies because story, really? You found there's a story in there? I mean, I
It's a
guess
very simple
Lucis,
story. I mean, it's
Lucis.
don't go looking for the deep. This isn't weapons or sinners, Damon. It's a trauma movie, but
So
the story is super simple.
so I had to like, and I'm not going to spoil anything until we get into spoilers. But
Yes.
like when I sat down to watch this movie, I remember. Okay, so I loved the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well. And I loved the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live action film. I saw that in the
Oh
theater
my
when I was a
God.
kid.
Great
And
movie.
that was like kid heaven to me, watching the turtles come to life and battling Shredder and oh my, I was in kid heaven watching that movie.
Watching Casey
And
Jones murder a guy on screen. It's
yeah,
fantastic.
and even part two, Secret of the Ooze, I loved that movie.
Yeah,
Now
not
that was
bad.
kind of I got a little older by the time the third one when they tried time traveled or whatever, but the first two I was way into.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the Toxic Avenger as a kid, and I know I've seen that the original one probably two or three times, and I remember enjoying it. It wasn't something I necessarily sought out. It was just kind of like goofy fun. I do remember renting it from the video store based on the cover, the classic VHS cover of Toxie on
Yes.
the cover with the mop and everything. I remember that, and I do remember renting it. And I remember like enjoying it, but not getting obsessed with it, you know. And when you're a kid, horror movies are all about obsession, right? Like you can watch it. Like I watched a lot of horror films as a kid because I was a kid of the '80s and I loved slasher films. But the ones that really stuck with me, the ones that I always remember, like Nightmare on Elm Street, which became my favorite franchise, those stuck with me more than other things. I'm currently wearing a Monster Squad T-shirt. That movie
Big one.
stuck with me. But I know I saw other like a lot of the slasher movies of the '80s that did. Like I remember seeing House. It
Yeah.
was all right, but I don't remember ever wanting to seek it out and see it again. And that's kind of my relation with Toxic Avenger. Like, I don't remember disliking it. I remember liking it, but I also remember seeing it as a little kid. And sitting down tonight, I knew I was walking into a very schlocky, very tropey, no, you know, just, I knew what I was walking into, but even knowing that, watching it unravel on screen was just like this is not a movie for me anymore. Like this is just when I talk on the show about my relationship with horror comedies, I like a good horror comedy. Like one of my all-time favorite films is Zombieland. I love Zombieland. I watched it within the last like 2 months and I was like, oh, this still holds up. It's like a warm blanket coming over me. I love that movie. It cracks me up. It's great, you know, action, great acting, everything. And then I watched Shaun of the Dead with like 2 3 months ago. Perfect horror comedy. But if you remember, you go back in time when I talk about the horror comedies that bug me. It's the movies that are they're trying to make fun of themselves and they're acting serious, but they're not serious, if that makes sense. Like when you watch Shaun of the Dead, you watch Zombieland, you know they're making a comedy. But then you watch the movies that are so goofy and so schlocky and so over the top that it's almost like they're making fun of themselves. That's not really funny to me. And that's what this film, I had a feeling it was going to be that. And when I sat down in the theater and I got about a half hour, 45 minutes into this movie, I was like, now I know why. It clicked in my head why this movie doesn't appeal to me. And you know what? It really did remind me of this. This feels like a B version, a lower budget version of a Tim Burton movie. Now, I'm going to offend about 3/4 of our audience when I say this, much like you offend me when you talk about my hero, Quentin Tarantino.
Yes.
I do not like Tim Burton.
Right.
I would go as far as saying I despise most of his films. I always equate Tim Burton movies to all substance, all style, no substance. It's all pretty colors and goth and weird and let's do some scissoring hands and let's make some cool colorful boats and let's look like you're going through an acid trip with Willy Wonka. But the actual story and the dialogue, it's all awful. Like I just can't stand Tim Burton movies. There are a couple exceptions. When I saw the original Batman in 1989 and
Yeah.
Batman Returns in 92, I was still a kid. I wasn't quite, you know, I was still of that age. I loved those movies and I watched Batman more recently and I still love it. I'm not going to deny that I still
Yeah.
love
Those
it.
are good movies.
And I know you're a big Beetlejuice fan. I don't mind Beetlejuice.
I like
I'm not like
Beetlejuice a lot. Yeah.
I'm not obsessed about Beetlejuice, but I do enjoy it. It's just not a movie I seek out necessarily. But if it's
Yeah.
on and like my girlfriend loves it, she wants to watch it, I'll watch it with her. So I don't dislike that movie. But like Edward Scissorhands, I'd rather punch myself in the face and watch that movie.
I
Willy
like that one. I
Wonka,
don't like it like Beetlejuice, but I like it. Willy Wonka's
like
terrible. Oh, that's an awful movie. He doesn't like I like Tim Burton. I don't love him. And he makes a lot of bad shit. Willy Wonka's way up there on that list of bad movies he's made.
But do you like when I sat down and I saw it? It was just like kind of goofy and over the top, and the performances are very much almost like I was going to see a weird theater play, if that makes sense. Like
Yes.
everything
Yeah,
is
it makes
over the
total
top,
sense.
everything's exaggerated, and I was like. I was 30, 40 minutes in, and I said to myself, "This is a Tim Burton movie. This feels like a B version of a Tim Burton because Tim Burton movies are big. He makes them with millions upon millions of dollars, so it's not that. But I just got that feeling. This is a Tim Burton movie in this form. Did you get that vibe? Because when I sat down and watched it, I was like, and after about an hour, I knew I didn't like this movie. It's not for me.
Yeah.
And that's okay, by the way. I mean, not everything's going to be for everybody.
Not everyone's gonna like these.
But when I made that connection, and I remember like over the top, goofy, exaggerated performances, lots of costumes and colorful scenes, and that's a staple of a Tim Burton. Like Tim Burton is all style, no substance. And I know, by the way, that Toxic Avenger is not meant to be an Oscar-winning film. I understand,
No.
but it reminded me so much of Tim Burton that I just knew. I was like, there's no way I'm going to enjoy the rest of this movie, and I didn't. It did not make a big turnaround by the end of the movie where I was like, you know what, this was pretty good. No, by the end of the movie, as soon as the credits hit, it's like, please God, let me get out of this theater right now.
I mean, I wouldn't equate it with Tim Burton movies only because Tim Burton movies actually take themselves seriously. Like I think they're really heartfelt. Like I think he really means what he's making, and it just happens to be funny to the rest of the world because he's such an oddball person and he makes weird oddball movies. But I think there's a lot of heart in them and stuff like that. And I like the earlier stuff, to be honest with you. Everything after Batman Returns is sort of hit and miss for me personally. I don't compare these to Tim Burton in that respect. As a kid growing up with, but I mean, I'll say this. What's similar to a Tim Burton movie is that it has very specific cinematic language, right? Tim Burton's is a little more refined. This is very unrefined, right? That's a glass of wine compared to a Pabst Blue Ribbon that's been sitting in the sun for a couple of days and tastes like hot soap. Like that, this is what trauma is.
I don't know.
Growing up,
I might call Tim Burton more like Ripple, like the $5 wine you get at the store.
sure. I mean,
It's like
listen, it's different tastes for different folks. I mean, I do think the early stuff is better than you particularly enjoy, but I think the early stuff's pretty good. Everything else is the later he goes is not that great. Anyway, with Trauma, when I was a kid, you don't even care, right? I mean, look how many times you and I watched Killer Clowns from Outer Space growing up and loved it, and then we watched it on the podcast and like, wow, that's a steaming pile of shit. That's actually not a good movie. I was just talking with someone today about I Know What You Did Last Summer because they hated the remake. And they go, well, why'd you like the new one? I go, because I thought the original's terrible once I watched it again. I was like, I just look back and I don't look back with rose-colored glasses. I'm like, that's not a good movie. When I as an adult, I remember early in film school, me and my buddy sitting down to watch Toxic Avenger all the way through, and we just couldn't we couldn't stop laughing at how bad it was. And it was funny how bad it was. But what my brain did as a filmmaker was I went, these were people with no money who made a sci-fi horror movie. Yeah, the humor is so stupid. I mean, it's not even the humor's not even funny. The fact that they tried it and thought it would be funny is what's funny about it. It has nothing to do with like what's actually there. But I thought to myself, like, this is a guy, Lloyd Kaufman and Joe Ritter with Trauma back in the day just went like, what if we put together like all our friends, the guys we know down the street, they can play in it, and we'll just make a movie ourselves. That alone for me is what is charming about these movies. The acting is bad. It's not just like we're pretending to be bad. These people don't know how to act. So they just do things on screen and you're like, yeah, take one, that's fine. We don't have money for take two. Like I got so much 16 millimeter film here, that take will do. We're moving on. Like there was no acting going on in those movies. So it's like you take all that with a grain of salt because these are literally like these are bottom of the barrel trash movies. But But again, Damon, as a kid who loved all that stuff, I love trash. I love the idea of like a toxic wasteland and a superhero born of toxic ooze. I just love like the kind of the ideas around it. And those movies don't have a high rewatchability for me, but every now and then I do watch them to just sort of get like inspired. Like, shit, these people made these like cult classic movies as a neighborhood, as a bunch of friends, as a bunch of people just getting together wanting to make a movie, and they own their own little corner of cinema history with that. I admire that. So when Macon Blair says, "Well, I'm going to remake it," I go, "You can't just do what they did." And I don't know how they got Peter Dinklage, Jacob Tremblay, Kevin Bacon, and Elijah Wood, but clearly those people are fans of this shit too. Clearly. I mean, probably not Jacob. He probably was like, what even is that? But he's game. But clearly Peter Dinklage, Kevin Bacon, and Elijah Wood were like, hell yeah. I'll bring my talents to your trashy movie. And to me, that made the difference because though the reason why I can't sit through something like oh there's like a chicken movie. I forgot what it's called. It's stupid.
Poultrygeist.
Poultrygeist is one of the stupidest fucking movies. It's terrible. It's so bad because the acting and the writing is just unbearably bad. Poultrygeist. This movie, he was like, we'll keep it simple. We'll put these good actors in this bad movie that we are purposely making bad, but we're gonna do it kind of our own way. Like, I almost wonder if like some trauma purists are gonna hate this movie because it's a little, I'm Damon, I'm saying a little, like a micron better than those trauma movies. It's done with a little more effort. It's done with a little more production value. It's just a little bit, not a lot, but enough to like just make it a movie as opposed to those Poultrygeist, which is like, this is just bad thing after bad thing after bad thing. So I was like, damn, that's kind of crazy that Macon would manage to do that. I mean, here's the very basic plot of the Toxic Avenger, the new one, the Macon Blair one. A horrible toxic accident transforms downtrodden janitor Winston Goose into a new evolution of hero, the Toxic Avenger. Very pulpy, very comic setup. Just the idea that a janitor falls into some toxic waste and becomes a hero. Very comic booky, very goofy, very pulp. And this is that movie. He gives him a little bit of motivation, which I like, and we'll talk about in spoiler section. He gives him a little bit of motivation just to pull you through this movie, and they delivered. They delivered what I think is Damon a at least a refrigerated can of Troma beer.
See, and to your point about this movie being slightly elevated, I think that's also what frustrated me so much about this movie because I can almost excuse watching the original Toxic Avenger and being like, this is a total B, maybe a C movie.
Oh, like
No
D,
budget,
F
no
movie.
budget, nobody you've ever heard of in the movie. It's like watching. I don't know why I bring in this up for the second podcast in like the last month, but it's like watching a Skinamax movie, like one of those movies on like the cheap
Oh
cheap
yeah,
movies they play at like 2 a.m. on HBO or Cinemax when it's like lots.
Damon. We as I've grown up, I realized the Skinamax movies were it was porn actors. They're just
Yeah,
acting in a regular movie.
yeah, and but you're not watching it for the acting clearly, but it's still like it's not quite what you really want, but it's it's enough to get you
Yeah.
through, without getting crude. Trauma movies are kind of the same ilk. Like you're just watching them because they're goofy and they're over the top and they're schlocky and they're wild and they're crazy and they're gory and you're not watching it because you think you're gonna watch some masterpiece of theater. You're
Right.
probably popping a gummy or dropping something some sort of
Oh,
drug and sit,
if only I didn't
and
have to
sitting down
drive
and watch
home.
and sitting down and watching the Toxic Avenger. I get it. But I think one of my biggest problems with this reboot, and there's a myriad of problems, but one of my biggest problems is what you're talking about. They brought in good actors. I almost find that more offensive because now you're taking really schlocky, really bad, really B level material and you're putting it into the mouth of an Emmy winning Oscar-worthy actor like Peter Dinklage. Kevin Bacon is a good actor. I like Kevin Bacon very much. He did
He's
a show
great.
on Showtime recently called City on the Hill. I loved it. He's great. I'm not like the biggest Elijah. I don't dislike Elijah Wood. I
Sure.
just don't. I'm not. Yeah, but I like what he's in Yellow Jacket stuff. He's in like that. He's in that, and he's good. And Taylor Page, like I was not super familiar with her until she was in the new Beverly Hills Cop movie, which was remarkably well done. I really
That was
enjoyed
a
it.
good movie.
I was shocked how much I liked it. And then I see all them together in this movie, and my thought about the movie is, wow, what a steaming pile this movie is. Like the story is not great, and I understand it's not meant to be great, but it's an hour and 45 minutes. This movie needs to be an hour and 10 minutes out the door. Like
I'd agree there.
getting into like some of the action beats, it takes so long to get there, and it's an hour and 45 minutes. But the most offensive thing is what you're talking about. When I watch a B movie and there's B actors, I'm getting what I paid for. In this movie, they got A-list actors putting on a B-list movie, and it's almost like you're just wasting their time. And I understand that Peter Dinklage and Kevin Bacon, all these actors signed on, and as you said, they're probably fans of the original, fans of Truman. They're like, we want to be part of this movie. I get it. But you're still making a really bad Troma movie with really good actors, and it's frustrating because the talent's there. I would almost rather have somebody who has no idea what they're doing, who has no clue what they're doing in the dialogue. They're reading the dialogue like it's almost like they're reading off a cue card, and they miss a line, and then just randomly someone takes their top off. Like I would almost prefer that because then I know what I'm getting myself into. It's like watching Leprechaun and seeing Jennifer Aniston in like her first ever movie, and
Oh, that's great. No, that's great. What
but Jennifer Aniston never talks about that movie again. Now there's a reason why she's not doing horror now. I'm sure she could, but she would be in a much different horror movie now than she was in like 1988 when she did that as like her first movie. If this was Peter Dinklage's first movie, Kevin Bacon's first movie, like Kevin Bacon was in Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Now, that's not the best Kevin Bacon performance you're ever going to see in your life. It was very early on in his career, and he got a lot better. But I get it. 1980, you're just getting out, you're getting started. That's going to be the kind of movie you're going to get. But putting A-list award-winning actors in a really piss-poor script, a really piss-poor made movie, and just so over the top and so goofy. And I think one of the biggest problems I have with this movie, beyond all that, just throwing out one more thing, this movie is meant to be a horror comedy. It's not meant to be serious in any way, shape, or form. I get that. But I didn't laugh at all. It was all dumb to me. Like, it was not even dumb humor. I watched The Hangover. I enjoy dumb humor. This wasn't even dumb. This was dumb, but not humor. Like, this was dumb, but not funny. It was just goofy and stupid, and I'm sitting there in the theater watching this thing, and at one point I looked at my phone and I was like, when is this over? Good God already, get it done with. It's just, I'm being clear. If you love Troma, I can't even say if you love Troma, because I think one of the biggest things that ruined it for me, which is a weird thing to say, I understand, is putting the good actors in it. I would almost rather you put no-name randos in it, and then I would be like, you know what? It's a B movie. It's kind of goofy. It's kind of stupid. And, it is what it is. I wouldn't enjoy it, but it almost pisses me off more that I'm like, Peter Dinklage is a really good actor, and you got him playing a really shitty role in a really shitty movie. That bums me out even more.
Damon, there's no way I would have liked this movie without Peter Dinklage, without Kevin Bacon, without Elijah Wood. This is why I enjoy the movie that much more. The humor is like a acquired taste, definitely. My theater though was going off. My theater was A, packed. I'd never had to sit next to so many people, and B, all the laughs were playing. But we were clearly with the right crowd. Clearly, which is strange. Like I think Ohio would have a strong trauma contingency themselves. Being the kind of place that was like that, trauma models itself after Cuyahoga, and shit like that, like places where lakes light on fire back in the 1980s. Like like you'd think that there were crowds out there, maybe you just were with the wrong crowd that didn't want to be into it. Clearly, I was with the right crowd. It was playing very well in that group. That group was there for that thing. Damon was there because he had to be there because Peter Dinklage was in it. If if Joe Blow was playing the Toxic Avenger, we would have skipped this one. I know we would have. We wouldn't be talking about this. Everybody wanted to know what on earth is it going to look like when Peter Dinklage and Kevin Bacon are in a trauma movie. And the truth is, it made it just that much better, Damon. I know to you it made it worse. Somehow I truly don't understand that. I don't understand that logic, but that's your logic. That's what you want. That's fine. This movie would have been insufferable without them. Like it's because it's meant to be an insufferable movie. I know that's a weird thing to say, but truly, like trauma movies are just meant to offend and make you groan and make you go, oh, come on, that's so stupid. That's what they're made to do, right? That's the language of them. That's actually the language of those movies. And it succeeded. It succeeds. That means a large swath of people are going to go, are you fucking kidding me? People like that shit? Some people do. Some people actually do. It actually is a thing that works. Um, Damon, I don't know how much more we can talk about before we get to spoilers, but I will say this. Clearly, Damon hates the movie, and that's fine. Damon doesn't have to like this movie. It's not a movie that like I go, hey, everybody, you have to go see this. If you love trauma movies, you definitely have to go see this. For sure. If you love trauma movies, is required viewing if you're a trauma person. But I do think it was not a dog shit script. I think it was like a decent script, which is so not a trauma thing. Like your argument is, hey, the trauma thing should be a bunch of shitty actors. And I'm saying, hey, the trauma thing should be a script that is essentially not a script at all. This has a basic storyline. And I do mean basic. I'm not talking about intricate. I'm not talking about emotionally resonant. None of that stuff. None of that stuff. I'm just saying that there is a pretty simple A, B to C to D to E and F. I will agree with you on one thing. This movie doesn't need to be an hour and 45. In fact, it could have been a tight 120. They did spend a lot of time, and before we're not spoiling anything here, just to say, they spent a lot of time kind of building the case. Like how does Toxie start? I think you could have truncated that to like an opening sequence. That's my biggest criticism of the movie. I didn't need the long buildup. It took a long time for Winston to become Toxie. It's almost like half of the movie, almost. And I'm like, that's too long. You should have really got to it. That's my biggest gripe with this movie. But once it gets in, if you like trauma, which is a big if for some people, if you like trauma, it's a trauma movie after that. Just be prepared because there is a beginning, middle, and end. And and like they clearly had a plan in place, which is a very untrauma thing to do.
And I know you said you didn't understand when I talk about the actors in this movie. It's just, I think to me, it's talent wasted, and I think that's what frustrates me so much. And
But
I'll
it,
give you I'll give you a correlation, and you'll get it because I know you saw this video, and it reminds me of when I watched Toxic Avenger. Our mutual friend, you're very good friends with him, but I'm friends with him on TikTok as well. Real dumb on TikTok.
yes,
He did a whole video talking about how much he hates Rocky Horror Picture Show. He watched it,
right,
and he's like, I don't fucking get it. Like I
right.
know a lot of people love this movie. It was the worst like hour and a half, whatever time. Like, he was flipping out. I was cracking up because I remember when I was in college, we went to a midnight showing of Rocky Horror, and I'd never seen Rocky Horror. And I'm not going to sit here and say I loved it. I didn't necessarily hate it. I just didn't quite get it. Like I didn't get
Sure.
the over the top appeal of some people are obsessed with Rocky Horror. Most movies that people are obsessed with, I can at least understand. Even if I don't like it, I can get it. Like the Twilight movies, the Twilight books. I don't like those movies. I don't like those books, but I get it. I get the appeal of it. Just like your Hunger Games. I'm not really into Hunger Games either, but I get the appeal of it. And watching his video of him talking about Rocky Horror, and he's like, I don't get it. Like I just don't understand it. And that's one I didn't hate it, but I just like I don't understand why people are obsessed. It's kind of goofy, funny. There's some musical stuff, but I don't really understand the obsession. But hey, to each their own. And that's how I feel about this particular movie.
Sure.
Because now you're taking the format of a trauma movie, the budget of a trauma movie, and you're sticking good actors in there. And I'm just like, give me if you're gonna go schlock, go all the schlock. If
Oh,
you're gonna
that's
give
the
me
appeal, though.
give me all the goofy. If you're going to give me the really dumb dialogue, the really dumb moments in this movie, just give it to me with give me the Friday the 13th Part 3 cast. I do not need award-winning actors in this movie. I need people that tried out and people that went to the casting office because they just happened to wander in off the street, not because they graduated from Juilliard or whatever. Like, I don't need that. So that's my frustration, because I would prefer the C level of trauma, because that's what trauma is. So, anyways,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I still, I mean, with regards to the top Rocky Horror Picture Show, you know who it appeals to? It's like dirtbag theater kids. Like if you're a theater kid who loves musicals, you love Rocky Horror Picture Show. But also like it's kind of like nasty and bloody and sexy, so like it's for the dirty theater kids. Trauma is for dirtbag moviegoers, like who really love like dirtbag movies. It's 100%. Some of them might go, yeah, I didn't want to see good actors in this. Some of them might say that, but like there's a genuine fascination where it's like good actors are going to be in one of the worst brands of movie ever. Like that to me, that alone is an attraction, and I love it, by the way. And I'm going to say this about the performances: Peter Dinklage, Tremblay, Taylor Page, Kevin Bacon, Elijah Wood. They showed up. Like it's not like they did their thing in this movie, and I was like, that's cool. I'm not saying these are like Oscar-worthy performances. I'm not saying Dinklage is going to win an Emmy or a Golden Globe. I'm just saying like they put their stank on it, and I'm like, to me that's just fucking cool to see that there's a generation of actors that were so into trauma that were like, hell yeah, I'll be part of your shitty movie. And I say shitty with a lot of love, by the way, because I think Macon Blair put his heart and soul into it and was like, I want to make a trauma movie, because he clearly loves trauma, right? So he's making a trauma movie that to me was like the most refined one you could get. Like it's worlds better than the poultry guys, Damon. I mean, they don't even belong in the same discussion, to be honest with you. Some trauma people might actually have a beef with this movie because of that. They're like, no, I like my shit way worse than this. I don't jibe with those people. I think you and I, we're out there looking for the good and the best movies that we can possibly watch. Some people are like, no, give me the doggiest, shittiest movie possible. And they're going to go fuck this movie because it's just a little too smooth around the edges.
and when you say the acting is, I mean, I'm not saying the acting is bad by any stretch of the imagination, but when the movie was over, my first thought was, I have access to IMDb Pro. I'm going to look up the agents for Kevin Bacon and Peter Dinklage and Taylor Page and send them emails and say, what the fuck did you do? Why did you allow your client to be in this movie? Because they did not need to be in this movie. Like, this is not, I get the feeling like this is one of the, I know they did a Comic-Con panel and they all were excited to
Yeah,
get out there.
I met him.
Because like they met him, they did it 4 years ago. Like I read an article where they're doing, Jacob Tremblay did this when he was like 14. Now he's like 19 when it's coming out. Like he's so long ago he filmed this movie. And I know, I understand, like when you do something and you want to stand by it, but it almost feels like I always remember that one interview with Ben Affleck after Batman versus Superman came out, and they like told him how the reaction was, and they did like the "Hello, darkness, my old," you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Ben just looks so depressed. He's like, God, I can't believe this movie did what it did. And that's kind of the feeling. I'm like 10 years from now, I wonder if Peter Dinklage is going to be polishing his Oscar, and someone's going to be like, "Remember when you made Toxic Avenger?" He's like, I have no memory of what you're talking about.
Oh no, I disagree. I think he's good. I think he wears it with a badge of pride. I really do. I think especially
does.
he's a New York guy too, and I think like probably a lot of these people were East Coast people growing up, and so for them this is like almost like a rite of passage, if you will, to be like, I was in a trauma movie. I mean, shit, James Gunn runs DC and
Yeah.
he came up through trauma. You know what I mean? There's a lot of industry love for it. And I'm just glad, because I will be very honest with you. If this was a big no-name cast, I don't think we'd be reviewing it. I honestly don't, because it's not like we've ever reviewed a trauma movie. We don't, because it's really hard to talk about this movie. It's like, okay, yeah, they wandered around and spewed racial epitaphs for 30 minutes. It was not great. Like it's hard to talk about. At least this one, once we get into spoilers, there's at least a semblance of a story to talk about.
There is a semblance of the story. There is a semblance of a story, and you're right. If this wasn't a theatrical release, if this wasn't Peter Dinklage and Kevin Bacon and Elijah Wood, we probably wouldn't be talking about it.
I don't think we would.
So yeah, I mean, as I'm giving our audience an upfront statement to say this is just not a movie for me. And by the way, just to be totally clear, I did go in with like normal expectations. I didn't go in thinking I wasn't going to like it. I was actually
Sure.
weirdly kind of excited because I had the same thought you did, which is I remember watching Toxic Avenger as a kid and enjoying it. But I was also like, 8 years old or whatever when I saw it. And I was like, ooh, okay, we're going to get like an elevated Toxic Avenger because we got good actors in here. Okay, I'm in. And then I sat down. I was like, wow, did they just waste the shit out of these good actors? So, anyways, let's get into spoilers. So, if you haven't seen Toxic Avenger, you will not find me in the theater to see it again. But it is in theaters right now, so go check it out. And also, if you do want early access to this episode and all episodes, including our ongoing Alien Earth recaps and reviews. We're doing every single episode this season. We started out just doing the first two. We're like, you know what? We should do the whole season. So that is exclusive to our Patreon, patreon.com/rewindedlivingdead. Go over there. You will get early access to all of our episodes. Like we're recording this on a Thursday night. It's going to go up like an hour after we record, and it will not be out till next Wednesday for all the rest of the podcast. So it's still free for everybody, but it comes out basically a week later. This will be up in an hour's time tonight on Patreon. And also every week you're going to get access to our Alien Earth episodes and other specials. We have our Final
Yeah.
Destination wrap-up show, all kinds of cool shit over there. So patreon.com/rewindedlivingdead. Also, it was kind of like in the midst of our new episode coming out on The Conjuring. We dropped a really cool interview with Stephen Cognetti, the writer and director of Hell House LLC Lineage and all the Hell House movies, actually. And he kind of reached out to us and wanted to come on our podcast to respond to some of the questions and criticisms and reactions to his movie. And we were honored that he wanted to come on with us, spend about an hour with us talking about the movie and what's next, and I'll answer all your questions. It is a spoiler-filled episode, so if you haven't seen Hell House LLC Lineage, you may want to wait till you see it before you sit down and listen to that episode. But very cool episode, so do check that out. And a big thank you to Stephen Cognetti for spending an hour with us answering questions and talking about his movie. Patrick, with that said, let's get into spoilers and this wildly intricate plot that you keep talking about.
I did not say intricate plot. I said very simple plot, actually. And I do want to mention one thing before we get onto that is that the people that are producing Toxic Avenger, Legendary, and Trauma and all those guys, they are going to be donating money to medical debt relief. And that actually ties right into the plot. And we'll roll right into that. So I'm just saying, despite Damon's objections, you actually will do some good for the world if you go out and buy a movie ticket for the Toxic Avenger because they will help contribute to medical debt, which is an insane problem that we have in this country. Stupid,
So,
stupid problem that we have in
of
this
all
country.
of all the regrets I have about this movie, that's the one I do not regret. So if I'm going to sit here and tell you that I did enjoy this movie, I did enjoy this movie, but I am glad that my movie going money is at least going to a good cause, and I really do mean that because that is amazing. I didn't know that, so that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a really awesome thing, but it ties into the plot. So when we meet Winston, he's a single stepdad to Wade, a very down on his luck guy. He's a janitor at a big biomedical facility in a shitty town called St. Roma, aka Tromaville. And he's just super down on his luck. And he gets the bad news, Damon, that he has some form of brain cancer or brain something. They don't know because the damn construction work is blocking out what's wrong with his head. And of course, he's like, "Well, cool. I have health insurance through this big pharmaceutical company, so I'll just call my insurer up and let them know, and they'll be able to pay for this experimental medicine that'll help my brain." And of course, they go, "Oh, you're on the wrong tier. We can't give you the medicine on your tier." And he's like, "I'm on the platinum tier," and they're like, "It's the gold tier that gets the medicine." And he's like, "What? That doesn't make no fucking sense." Just even though they were joking around and making a really stupid joke they were making a little statement, which is this is garbage that people in America have to deal with this shit.
100%.
It's 100% a shitty situation. So of course he is just struck because he's about to die and leave this kid who already lost his mom to cancer. He's like, wow, that's awful. So it kind of breaks him a little bit, and he decides to crash this gala that Robert Garbage with what's his name? Robert Garbinger, Bob Garbinger, Kevin Bacon's character, he crashes this gala that he's at, and he's like, "Dude, here's the situation. I got brain cancer. I work for you, and they're not going to give me money to pay for the experimental medication that'll help me, and I'm trying to stay alive for my kid." And Kevin Bacon kind of pats him on the back. He's like, "You got it, buddy. We're gonna help you out. Take him over there." And of course, they take him out back, and they just kick him into the alley. They don't give a shit about him. They really don't. And crossing that is a storyline which is JJ, played by Taylor Page. She has stolen evidence that this pharmaceutical company is putting essentially poison into these things and killing people. She's got that evidence in hand, so she's on the run. These two paths cross, and the henchmen that are out to get her end up getting Winston, and they dump and they
Don't
kill him. And
don't don't forget he goes to the plant and robs it. He goes in like they have a
that's
secret
yes,
room of money,
thank you.
and he goes in to rob them so he can steal the money for his for his experimental medication. And while he's there, he runs into JJ, who is also there trying to collect information because she got the hard drive with the information about the corporation, but then they send these people in called the kicking nuts or the kick them in the nuts. I can't remember what they're called, but they
Yeah.
send in this like gang of hooligans and masked villains to raid their office, and her mentor gets killed and she gets away, but in the process of getting away, she smashes the hard drive. So she goes back to the company to try to steal more evidence, and that's when she runs into Winston. He's trying to escape with a bag of money. She's trying to escape with evidence, and they run into each other, and they both get fucked up because he loses the money and she loses the evidence. But Winston doesn't get away, and they end up chucking him into a vat of deadly chemicals, and he comes out looking like the character from RoboCop. If you know what I'm talking about,
Yes. It's
comes
so
out looking comes out looking
no.
like him, and the Toxic Avenger is born. So I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I just wanted to throw that in there.
No, that's good. See, Damon, you're proving my point. This plot's more intricate than we thought. Uh, so basically, he comes out and he's like, "Holy shit! Now I'm this thing. What the hell is wrong with me?" He has no idea. He tries to visit Wade, and of course, Wade is like, "What the fuck are you? Get the fuck out of here!" He goes running, and essentially from that point on, he needs to prove that he's a hero to Wade. He stops a bunch of dudes who want to they want to overthrow Miss Burgers because it used to be called Mr. Burgers, and they're mad that they changed the gender. So like these guys want to like take it out. So Toxie comes in there and just lays waste to these people. And you saw that in the trailer. He lays waste to these guys. He's now the hero of town because they were holding a bunch of people hostage. They like him. Wade sees that and it's like, "Oh, cool. Turns out that is my dad, my stepdad. He is the Toxic Avenger, and he's this hero." But of course, Damon, the bad guys are not okay with that, right? They're going to be like, "Nope, now we need to get Toxic Avenger. Not only do we need to get him, we need to get what's inside him because he's clearly like now some superhuman. Maybe we can use that." It's essentially the plot of Death of a Unicorn. Like we want the sauce. We want the good stuff that's in Toxie. So everybody has motivations weirdly. Like I've never had to say that about a trauma movie before, but everybody has their motivations. And it ultimately culminates in a big showdown, Damon, that is bloody and disgusting and silly and stupid and funny. And essentially, it's just a matter of hey, can we the downtrodden catch a break from the big guy? Because the whole city's corrupt. The whole city's in the pocket of the pharmaceutical company, who is in turn like completely, destroying the town and polluting in the town. They don't give a shit. They step on everybody's neck. There's the organized crime guys, like they're over there muscling people around, stealing their
So
property.
let me tell you, I just want to mention you talk about like this is a very simplistic plot, and you're right. Overall, it is. But if you wanted me to complain about one major part of the plot that just did not need to be there, is we find out that Kevin Bacon's character Bob Garbinger is
Garbinger.
secretly in serious debt to the mob, and so the mob is coming after him too. And that B story was so fucking stupid. It meant nothing to the overall plot. Now I know we're talking about trauma film, so plot is used very
But
loosely. But that,
may I counter? It does have to do with the plot because he's going, he's telling the mobster guy, I know I'm in debt to you, but there's this toxic guy, and if I get his stuff, we'll make millions, and I'll pay your money
But
back.
they could,
It does,
they
it
could have,
does.
no, no.
I'm just saying it connects. It does connect.
Here's why I'm arguing not, because they make a big deal about his stock going down, his stock plummeting. He doesn't even need the mob guys at that point. He needs to save his company and save.
But the mob guy's money is tied into the stocks, Damon.
It doesn't need to.
That's true, Damon. That it's true. His money is tied in those. That's exactly why they're having the conversation.
Remember the old joke that somebody made, and I think it was in the Big Bang Theory, but I think it's been out there besides this, is they said that if you watch Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you go through the entire movie and the way it ends, nothing changes. Like, Indy doesn't really do anything. He doesn't save anything. Like, it's like the way it started is still the way at the end. Like, there's no real difference. And I remember, I think it was Big Bang Theory, and you got pissed off, like, you just ruined the movie because you just basically told me that, like, Indiana Jones really didn't matter in his own movie. That's kind of like the mobsters in this movie. Like, if you pull that storyline out of there and it's just Bob losing his company because they're going under because his ideas are stale and no one's buying the product anymore, and he needs to reinvigorate the company, and Toxie's nuclear powered waste body is a way to do that. That's all. If you pulled out every scene with the mobsters in this movie and every moment with the mobster and his son, you would not skip a beat in this movie. Like, you would miss nothing. There's literally no point to the point they actually serve, because Bob's already panicking because his bottom line is falling apart because his company isn't being innovative and they haven't had new ideas in like 20 years. That's enough to make him do these nefarious things and want to drain Toxie of his power so he can take advantage and build something new. You didn't even need the mob. That's all I'm saying is, like, if you take all that out, you don't skip a beat. You don't lose anything.
You don't, but here's the thing, is that the mob is connected to the town too, because remember, the very first thing you see is that mob kid who is shaking down Winston's neighbor. He's shaking down Winston's neighbor. So all those guys are in cahoots. Even the mayor, they have like a meeting. The mayor's at the ball. Like, what they're saying is all this shit ties together.
But yeah. What's funny is when they did the scene with the neighbor, the next door neighbor who's getting shaken down, and Winston steps outside with his son, and his son's basically like, "Why don't you do something? Why don't you step in and help her?" Because it's this old lady. She owns like a candy shop or like a bodega, and he's like, "Sometimes you just gotta, you gotta mind your own business, son. You can't get involved in other people's problems." And it wasn't until a minute or two later when I realized that was the organized crime, because I actually thought that was people working for Bob. Like, he's just trying to take over the whole town. So, like, that's all I'm saying. Like, it could have just been Bob's henchmen. It didn't even need to be.
You could have streamlined it. No, you could have streamlined it, but they wanted to. And again, this is where the intricacy of this movie is kind of impressive, Damon. It's like they wanted to show that at every level of the town, it's the people against the big business, against organized crime, against the politicians. Dare I say it's slightly heady? Like, it's a little heady for a trauma movie, but he's at least, my point is, he's making a point. And that I never expected to say that in a trauma movie.
To placate you the way you placate me when I try to explain why I like Death Proof, I'm just gonna say sure.
I'm just saying at least he crossed all his T's and dotted all his I's. That's all I'm saying.
Anytime we've ever talked about Death Proof and I try to explain why I like that movie because, I'm a Tarantino diehard, you're like, sure, Damon, sure.
Whatever you say.
That's my answer to you. And you're like, it's the intricacies and the little, sure, Patrick. Sure.
The only difference is I don't think Macon Blair thinks this movie's genius, but Tarantino for sure thinks Death Proof is his best movie. Well, it's not true. He thinks Inglourious Basterds is his best movie, but I guarantee you this is a close third.
Sure. That like the fact that there was a plot in there, that none of that bothered me. Like, the story was easy to follow. It just, I'll keep going back. Like, the mob thing was just, and we talked about the two biggest bloated parts of this movie, the intro, you're right. That took way too long to get to Toxie. Like, it takes like 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes to get
Yeah,
to
doesn't
Toxie.
need to take that long.
It could have taken 10 minutes, or as you said, it could have been just part of the intro.
Yes.
We all know where we're going. We came here to see the Toxic Avenger, not Peter Dinklage. And I love Peter Dinklage. I'm just saying, like, he's not the selling point of the Toxic Avenger. And then the mob people. You take those two elements and shrink it down. I'm not saying it's a better movie, but
It's a shorter
at
movie,
least
yes.
it's a shorter movie. And I think to a certain extent, when I have seen the trauma movies I've seen in the past, I think that's kind of the enjoyment. They're goofy and over the top and stupid and very B level, but they're also very quick. Like, they're not trying to make The Godfather. They're over an
Poltergeist
hour,
is not
hour.
quick.
I think I've seen that movie. I can't
Oh,
remember.
I've
but they're
seen
all
it
pretty,
recently. I was like, Jesus Christ, will this end?
They're all pretty quick, is what I'm getting. Like, if they're 90 minutes, that's like the max. And I'm just saying, this could have been an hour and 20 minutes. You take out the bloat with the gangsters that served zero purpose. They really served no purpose in this movie. You could have the mayor in that role. You could have just had Bob's henchman in the role. You did not need the mobsters. And then cutting down on the creation of the Toxic Avenger.
Sure.
Hour and 20 minutes. Not saying it's a better movie, but at the end of the movie, I wasn't ready to punch myself in the face to get out of the theater as I was tonight.
Damon, what say you about crude humor? Now, I will say again, the diehard trauma people will probably be a little pissed that this isn't crude enough. I genuinely, I keep bringing up Poltergeist. I genuinely hate it. The humor is not, it's not even that it's crude, it's that it's like it's crude and it's not even like clever. Like, at least be clever. And they're like, nope, what if we're just stupid? What if, like, just flat out like racist or incendiary or shitty just to be shitty, and maybe that'll be funny to somebody. That's why I'm like, throw that movie out. Fuck all that. I truly hate that movie. This movie was a little light on crude humor, but it was there. It was there in like little sprinkles, Damon. And one of my favorite little sprinkles of crude humor in this movie is the fact that Toxie himself discovers that he has toxic piss. His piss can burn through brick and mortar and burn through metal and all this shit. And I was like, okay, why are they showing him take a piss in front of a chimney and it's melting the chimney? Like, what's the point of that? It turns out to be a fucking plot device, because later on he's chained up in, I think they called it triple titanium chains. Or, they just make up something. I love that, where there's like, it's triple titanium, and they're like, okay, great. That means it can't be broken through with his super strength. But he's like, but wait a minute. He's like, I can get out of this. And he fucking flips himself on his back and puts his legs up in the air. He's like, I gotta piss on my face. And he starts pissing on the triple titanium neck brace that he's on to break himself free. And then he has to piss on JJ's chains as well. And I was like, you know what? That's some classic toxic shit.
What's funny, and I was building to this, because as much as I didn't like this movie, there were two things that I did enjoy about the Toxic Avenger. One was the toxic piss, when he said, I got to pull out my dick. And JJ's like, what, why? And he's like, I got to pull out my dick. Now, him bending up backwards and pissing on himself was kind of funny, but what actually was, what I was super impressed by, is they gave Peter Dinklage a hog, man.
He's got a big old toxic hog.
He has got a hog, man. Like, if people are watching this movie like Peter Dinklage, they're like, oh, Peter Dinklage, you're gonna have some new fans. This is full on Samson level schlongage, okay? So they give him a toxic cock, all right?
Yeah.
That did make me laugh. And the other thing that made me laugh, or not really laugh, just it was so goofy in this movie that I sort of enjoyed it, was the kicking nuts, or I can't remember. I'm losing the name.
I can't remember their name either.
Something nuts. And they're the henchmen of the Garbingers, but they're also a weird metal rap band, and the leader looks so much like the guys from Twisted, which is like the offshoot of the Insane Clown Posse. Yeah. And I'm very, still to this day, I think one of my proudest moments in this show, not mine, one of my favorite moments in the history of this show was your comparing fans of the Saw franchise to Insane Clown Posse fans, which is literally one of my all-time favorite moments in this podcast. I always remember it when you brought that up, and I was like, oh my God, that is such a brilliant comparison. You're just a diehard Saw fan, like you're a diehard ICP fan, you're a juggalo. Still to this day, it cracks me up. But the band of weirdos, one guy who's doing like constantly doing capoeira, which is like constantly doing parkour, whatever you want to call
Right.
it. And then they got one girl who's speaking in corn language. She's like, she goes full on Jonathan Davis. And then you got the leader who is one part Twisted, one part the baseball guy from Warriors, the movie Warriors.
Right. Two
And
parts
he's the
head
leader.
PE.
Yeah, very, very like 90s rap metal. And that didn't, and the music they're doing sound, I mean, I don't know, they just full on just like, here's a Twisted song. We're going to have you cover this song. It sounded like 100% this is going to be a song played at the next, what do they call it? Don't they do like a big juggalo?
The gathering of the
Gathering.
Juggalos is exactly what I was going to say. They were that band is plucked straight out of the Gathering of the Juggalos. Like you would not miss a beat. They'd be headlining the second stage, the dirt stage, or the crap stage. Like it's one of those things. It's one of the details in this movie. I'm like, I love that they went this route because there's always got to be henchmen. And they introduce them very early. It's like one of the first scenes of the movie is where they're attacking that reporter and JJ, and you only see them in silhouette. And of course they're outlandish and ridiculous, but that's trauma, right? So they're being trauma. And then when you reveal that it's indeed it's Fritz Garbinger's band that he manages, and it's like it's a shitty fucking 90s juggalo band. Like I was like, that's so great because it fits in the world where it's like, okay, what would make sense? Why would people now be dressing like this? Why on earth would they be dressing like this? Well, they would dress like this if they were at the Gathering of the Juggalos. They wouldn't even stand out. No one would even fucking notice them at the Gathering of the Juggalos.
And my immediate, like, I'm showing my age here by talking about Warriors, the great Walter Hill movie. Walter Hill,
yes,
the
great movie.
Involved with Alien. The baseball guy that always reminded the baseball guy from Warriors.
Yeah.
But it was like a combination of like Twisted and baseball guy from Warriors.
And that's classic trauma that I think trauma fans will really appreciate that because you do. And it was something I liked overall about the Damon, I'll say mise en scène of this entire film was that like it really tried to be a trauma movie, like in just atmosphere. Like they do the thing where like it's clearly like a lot of people walking around and crossing the cameras. Like there's like a lot of people just walking on the streets, which doesn't seem to be a normal thing in a small town. And all those people are weird looking and dopey looking and odd, and they say dumb things and they say weird things and they'll shout them off camera. Like you'll hear off camera someone go, "Well, that guy is a real stupid." And like that's a very trauma thing to do. And so the henchman, that's a super important element. And Macon was like, how do I make it where I'm not just shoehorning it in? How does it make sense to this movie? And so I really appreciated that. And it actually got a lot of laughs in my theater.
So I think I came up with a good comparison. I was talking about Tim Burton, and I stand by my Tim Burton comparison. You said you didn't see that, but I think I came up with a better one. That's nowhere near as good as your Juggalo Saw fan comparison, by the way. I'm not even going to try to compare to that. I don't know why
we all get it right once.
I don't know why this popped in my head, but I think you'll get it because you grew up like I did, which is dirt poor. Okay?
Yes, very.
Now, do you remember as a kid when you were forced to eat like Spam? I guess I'll use Spam as an example. Like everyone uses the canned meat because that's all you could afford to have, and that's what you had was canned meat because you could put it in the cupboard. It would stay good for like 8 years. It was like fallout shelter food. The reason. Like when you're a kid, or Vienna sausages. Remember Vienna sausages? Nasty.
Oh,
okay.
Yes, I do. Corned beef, literally in the can, Damon.
Yes. Okay. So now you, as a kid, you ate Spam because you had no other choice but to eat Spam. But it wasn't the worst thing in the world. It was, better than like the government cheese, which we absolutely did eat government cheese when I was a kid. But you ate Spam. Like it's just a rite of passage when you're a poor
I eat
kid.
Spam now. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, now here's my comparison. Now they have what's like elevated Spam. They have like where they're putting Spam in like sushi and like they're trying to make it elevated. They're trying to make it like
Spam masubi is good, Damon. That's
they're
a
trying to
Hawaiian
make it like
delicacy.
they're trying to make it like a gourmet. Or gourmet Vienna sausage, whatever. Just like cheap food. And that's kind of my problem with this movie. Just give me the spam. I don't need fucking danced up, dished up spam that you try to fancify it and put it in some weird dish. Just give me the spam. If I'm gonna eat Vienna sausage, I'm just gonna suffer through Vienna sausages. But when they put in the good actors and they give you a little too much story, which is weird to say, I'm just like, give me the Toxic Avenger just crushing people with his mop. Like, the best scenes in this movie are when the Toxic Avenger is just fucking up people with his nuclear mop and they're wiping out their faces and they're gutting them with a nuclear mop. That's the best part of this movie.
Absolutely. And to add to your spam comparison, I would still rather have spam masubi, which is the wrapped in the sushi paper with the rice and the soy and all that. I'd rather have that than like the off-brand spam with the expired bread, which is something I did have when I was a kid. I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, yes, I did that back then. I'll take this over here now. I'll take the thing that's just like slightly better.
Yeah, I'm like elevate. I don't really need elevated Vienna sausage.
I mean, it's hardly elevated. It's hardly elevated.
Yeah. Patrick, we should get into some categories, and let's kick things off as we do each and every week on this show, and that is with best performance. Now, weirdly, because this actually does have A-list actors, you actually can get to a real good performance in here. This is not one where we're stretching. Like we would with a movie, say, like the original Toxic Avenger or Poltergeist.
Oh, I wouldn't know what to do there.
So, Patrick, when it comes to the Toxic Avenger it technically came out in 2023. Now it's coming out in 2025. It's a weird.
Officially 2025, Damon. Let's be real.
So, what is your best performance in this movie?
My best performance should be no surprise. It comes from one of the finest actors of our day, Damon, Peter Dinklage, and I'm not saying that lightly. He's literally one of the best actors that has come out in the last 15, 20 years. I mean, he's phenomenal. And I got to meet him in the cast when I was working for MTV at Comic-Con, and an amiable guy, very nice guy, funny guy, like can really play with the room, just whip smart kind of person. Even though I wasn't in love with the belabored buildup of Winston turning into Toxic Avenger, the guy that he embodied, which was sort of losery, sort of like he's trying to be cool to his son. He's being a good dad, by the way. Like I want to be clear on that part. Like, he's a guy who's trying, but he's also like kind of past his prime, kind of dopey, kind of goofy, really out of touch, and very meek. And he did it without making it goofy. Because, boy, the first Toxic Avenger back in the 80s, the guy, I forget his name now, Nedry, or I forget what his name was. The guy before turning into Toxic Avenger was so insufferably bad that I'm like, I was fast forward to when they dump him in the toxic waste. Like, he's so bad. This is where Peter Dinklage shines. He shows you like a guy you can understand. Like, he reminds me of some guys that would like hang out at my uncle's house on Saturdays drinking beer. Like, kind of loserish guys, but a lot of sympathy behind the eyes, a lot of sympathy in like what he's going through and what he's trying to do. You ask for Peter Dinklage, you're gonna get it, Damon.
Peter Dinklage is far better than this movie deserves, is what I'm getting. Like, he is good. I will say this, and I guess maybe this is like the most trauma thing about this movie. So Peter Dinklage is in half the movie.
Yes.
Because once it transforms into Toxic Avenger, there is like an actor in the body of the Toxic Avenger, and Peter Dinklage is providing the voice. Now, maybe this was on purpose. I gotta imagine it was, because it's a trauma film, which is the dubbing of Peter Dinklage's voice with the Toxic Avenger was so bad. It literally, I felt like I was watching one of those old like Hong Kong kung fu movies.
Yeah. Yes.
That's how bad it was at points. But you're right. I mean, Peter Dinklage is great. And
by the way, shout out to Luisa Guerrero, who played the body of the Toxic Avenger.
Yes. And clearly, whoever was handling the lip movement on the Toxic Avenger, they needed some work. For me, Patrick, my best performance goes to Taylor Page, who played JJ. And like I said, I didn't know her before I saw the Beverly Hills Cop sequel that came out last year, which was remarkably good for what I was going in thinking this is just going
I
to
was
be bad.
shocked.
Beverly Hills Cop 3 was awful. And I was thinking, oh God, here we go. 20 years later, these legacy sequels just generally don't end well. And it was really good. It was funny. It felt like an old Axel Foley movie. And she was the big co-star. She played his daughter in the movie. And she was great. And I'd never seen her before. I know she's a very veteran actor, by the way. I'm not saying she's not experienced, not good. I just hadn't seen her before. And I was like, wow. And immediately I took note and I was like, I like her. I want to see what else she does. Once again, she's too talented for this movie, but she does very much play the kind of straight person in this movie. Like, she's not really there for the comic beats. She's there as the serious reporter. And outside of two moments in particular, where one, which is when they remove the head of the chicken guy and it's like a weird baby, she like vomits because she's like, it's so gross and so weird. And then the moment when he whips out his giant toxic schlong and he's like, I got to piss on my shoulder. She's like, no, don't pull out your dick. That was pretty good as far as comedy goes. But for the most part, she plays it straight. And in a weirdly bad Toxic Avenger trauma movie, her role is like the least worst of everybody.
No, she played it straight for the most part. Actually, I liked her comedy beats. Like whenever it was time for her to do something funny, they didn't give her a lot of it, but when they did give it to her, she delivered on it perfectly.
Yeah. Let's move on to our next category, MVP. This is our Ken Foray Banana Hammock MVP award, named after great character actor Ken Foray from the movie From Beyond, when he jumps down a flight of stairs and into a basement to kill a creature wearing nothing more than a thong bikini. If that's not an MVP performance, I don't know what is. So when it comes to the MVP of Toxic Avenger, who gets your MVP?
My MVP goes to writer-director Macon Blair for making what I think is the most rewatchable trauma movie I've seen in quite a long time. Again, we spent way more time than I ever thought we would do about talking about a plot for a trauma movie. He gets it. He gets the language of trauma, but it's updated and feels up to date. That's a balancing act. I think a lot of people would have fallen flat on their face trying to make that movie, trying to balance it for the modern times while still honoring and respecting the trauma that came before. He's like, I want to make a trauma movie, but I want to make it like my way. I don't just want to try to repeat what Lloyd Kaufman and company did in the 80s and 90s. I want to kind of make it my own thing. It's a trauma movie that feels completely up to date. And Trauma's still cranking movies out, by the way, for what looks like almost zero money. Like they're still making zero budget movies. This is, I think it's a crowning jewel for the trauma people.
So I was not familiar with Macon Blair, and then I looked him up, and I was like, where do I know this guy from? Because he's an actor more than he's a director. He's only directed like one
Yes.
episode or two episodes of TV and a short. This is his first feature film. I was like, why does this guy look so familiar? He's in Green Room.
He's in Green Room.
He-
Damon, he's the lead. He's the lead in Blue Ruin. Have you seen Blue Ruin?
Yeah, I have seen Blue Ruin. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it just didn't click in my head because I saw current pictures. He got a big beard. He looks different.
Yeah.
You know, and when I saw an older picture, I was like, oh, I know this guy, and that's what I remember. I remembered him from Green Room right off the top of my head. I was like, oh, Green Room, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
I
also
mean,
the lawyer. He's also Oppenheimer's lawyer in Oppenheimer. In
Yeah,
the
that's right.
Oscar-winning Oppenheimer. That's the director of Toxic Avenger 25.
Yes. So for me, Patrick, my MVP, I'm going to give, and this is a kind of weird one because he doesn't necessarily have involvement here, but he is in the movie, by the way. He has a very brief appearance. Is none other than Lloyd Kaufman, the OG, the creator, the founder, the CEO, the president, if you will, of Troma Entertainment. I met Lloyd a couple times at Comic-Con, and nice, incredibly nice guy. Like you can tell his passion for these films because you strike up a conversation with him, and it's like, I don't know if you've interacted with Lloyd Kaufman at all at any
Many times.
but you talk to him, and it's like you guys have known each other for years. Like he just immediately slips in, like talking to you like your old buddies. And as much as I didn't love this movie and it just didn't work for me, I'm glad that Lloyd Kaufman's getting some shine right now because only guys like us, old school horror fans or hardcore horror fans even know the name Lloyd Kaufman. Because if you're, and I'm, by the way, I'm not faulting just mainstream horror fans who don't watch Trauma. They are
Sure.
very, very schlocky. Like we said, it's probably more like D level movies. I'm not faulting you if you haven't seen a Trauma movie, by the way. That's just, they're not for everybody. But Lloyd Kaufman has been around forever, and as I mentioned earlier, I can't verify this factually, but I heard that it is the longest running indie studio in Hollywood. That's amazing. And the fact that this is going into theaters and it's getting some buzz. They got a panel at Comic-Con this year, for Christ's sake. I love it for Lloyd because he is like the nicest guy in the world. He's a legitimate fan of these kinds of movies. He's been doing it for decades. And it's just nice to see him get some shine. He does have a very brief cameo in this movie as well. It's like, hey, it's Lloyd Kaufman. So Lloyd Kaufman gets my MVP because even though this didn't totally work for me, I just love that man for what he's done and the little niche he's managed to carve out in the film industry for himself.
Lloyd is exactly what I was talking about way back at the beginning of the podcast when I said there is a charm to the Trauma movies because he's a goofy guy. I've talked to him a lot. His email is sitting here on my desk somewhere. He gave me his card one time. He's like, email me. You can make a movie for me. And I was like, maybe not. He's a really nice guy. He loves what he does and he does it unapologetically. Like he's kind of living the dream, like I think a lot of us are like, oh man, it'd be cool to be in the business but like answer to no one. That's 100% Lloyd Kaufman. He answers to no one. In fact, they come to him and go, can we license your Toxic Avenger to make a cartoon? And he's like, hell yeah. Can we sell lunch pails and action figures? Yeah, of course. Sign me up. Great. That'll pay for my house or whatever. Like he's living the dream, making his goofy, weird, unapologetic movies. And honestly, like, cameos galore. He's in every Guardians of the Galaxy movie. He was in the Superman movie if you look close enough, because he gave James Gunn his start. James Gunn was at his company writing scripts and doing special effects and shit like that. He's kind of like what's his name? Why can't I think of the other guy? Roger Corman. He's like a Roger Corman.
And Charles Band is the other one. I would give credit to Charles Band. They made the Puppet Master movies and Full Moon Pictures.
Full Moon Pictures. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those pillars. It's the pillars of like B horror that generations of people are into. Like there are, believe it or not, young Trauma fans. They're out there, but it's all because of Lloyd.
And I know, like, when I go to, because I go to a lot of horror conventions, and Lloyd is at all of them. There's always a Trauma booth, and Lloyd is inevitably hanging out there. People wait in line just to meet the guy. Like, he's an icon of the industry, and I love it. I love it for him. And you're not going to find me at the Trauma booth buying movies, but I will be there to meet Lloyd Kaufman because he's a cool guy and a legend in the industry. So that's why I give him my MVP. Patrick, our next category is one that we don't use often, but when it's worthy of using, we do bust it out from time to time.
One testicle!
Our classic Prisoners of Ghostland Nicolas Cage one testicle award for overacting. Now, Patrick, there is no better movie to bust out this award than The Toxic Avenger. So when it comes to this particular movie, and oh boy, could you hand it to a lot of people, who gets your one testicle award?
I could have given it to almost everybody in this movie, minus Peter Dinklage, who I was like, he's doing the Peter Dinklage thing. But I also ultimately gave it to my MVP, Macon Blair, who has a role in the movie. He's called, I can't remember what his name is particularly, but he like plays JJ's landlord. And he's apparently called Dennis, the nosy slob.
Yeah,
and
Dennis.
Macon's in a lot of movies. I just said he plays the lawyer in Oppenheimer, which is an Oscar-worthy movie. You would not know the man knows how to act based on his performance as Dennis in this movie. He's just going way over the top, but I really do think that's him sort of, taking the role of Lloyd Kaufman. Like Lloyd would always be in the Toxic Avenger movies and he'd have that one little role. And I really think that was Macon just going, I'm going to give it the full Lloyd Kaufman here because that's what this movie deserves.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, that's what I knew him for, was being an actor. And he's a pretty good actor. So yeah, it definitely was not. But when I say not his best day, it probably was his best day because he got to do a Lloyd Kaufman impression, in which it seems like he loves these movies. So good for him. So for me, Patrick, you know, I think you said Peter Dinklage. I think Peter Dinklage and Taylor Page both probably were the ones who never really went full on like schlock in this movie. I
Probably.
could easily give it. I could easily give it to Kevin Bacon, Elijah Wood playing Danny DeVito from Batman Returns. That's who he was playing in this movie, by the way. It looks so much
Yeah.
like the Penguin from Batman Returns. But I had to give it to oh, I just lost the name. Where is it at? Julia Davis as Kissy Sturvneven, who is Kevin Bacon's assistant slash secretary. He calls her his secretary at one point. She gets offended because says I'm an associate or whatever.
Yeah.
She's just like it's one of those performances where, like, you know how when you watch a TV show and they make fun of a soap opera and the acting is so over the top. Like, I don't know if you ever watched Friends, but there's an episode of Friends
Try not to, but
where
yeah.
one of the characters is a soap opera actor and like everything is like over dramatic. Like, you're my father, dun dun dun. You know, the big dramatic thing. That's kind of like, it's almost like she's playing that in this movie. Like, everything is overblown, everything is exaggerated, and she's just kind of all over the place in this movie. And much like the mobsters, I'm kind of like, do we really need this character? But yeah, I guess she kind of gives Kevin Bacon's character a sidekick, for lack of a better word, even though sort of his brother's his sidekick. But yeah, she was very much going for like the full on like soapy Emmy award. Like, she wanted the daytime Emmy award is what she wanted in this movie.
She if she didn't have an actual like resume to look up, and she's been in like major movies like Love Actually and stuff like she's been in real stuff, I would have guessed you ripped her right from the Trauma catalog. Like,
Yeah.
and she was living it. She was like, I will be your trauma actor, which is it's an oxymoron. There's no such thing as a trauma actor. Those two things don't go together. But she indeed was like, I'm going to embody it. The one thing this movie was sorely missing was Claire, which is Toxie's girlfriend. I love Claire in the movies. Claire might be my favorite thing outside of Toxie himself in all the movies. She's his girlfriend and she's blind and she's totally silly, and I love her. I genuinely do. Terrible, terrible acting, and that's kind of what I felt here. But again, that's what I'm signing up for, and she delivered some of that.
And you kind of made the same point, making Blair like maybe they were just doing it on purpose, like, because
Yeah, I
you're
think
right.
so.
Like, she's in other things, and you're just like, where did this come from? She was doing her soapy best in this performance. I have to give her credit for that, or the one testicle award, as it may be. Patrick, let's talk about best gore. Now, I want to say this real quick. I don't want to get off topic, but I don't want to mention this because they said that when they were looking to put this film in the theaters, they couldn't find a distributor because the gore was so severe, and they had to fight and struggle, and they finally got Cineverse and Legendary to release it in theaters, and got it to an R rating. Don't get me wrong, I'm not. It was unrated. It wasn't R rated.
Yeah, unrated.
I'm not like saying they're lying or anything, but like the gore was, to me, not that over the top. I mean, not compared. I mean, I know Terrifier is also unrated, but I was watching this and I was kind of like, really? Like, someone fought against this being, I've seen way worse in other movies, and this was kind of goofy gore. Like, it was gory, but it was goofy gory. So I was like, this is kind of weird. This was supposedly too graphic to put in theaters, but neither here nor there. I just want to mention that because when I got out of the theater, I was like, I mean, there's gore, but I've seen way worse in movies that were definitely rated R.
Yeah, this is not crazy gore by any stretch. And I'm a gore horror, Damon. You know I like it gory. Yeah, I think they more did that to hype it up than anything else because
Probably
I mean,
so.
not even close. But my best gore, Damon, if you must, was pretty early on in the movie, and it's kind of classic trauma gore. I loved it, which is when Toxie goes into that burger place, Miss Burgers, and he's attacking these rebels. He starts kind of like, one guy's jaw gets ripped off, and this other guy gets, his chest blown open. And I was like, what's next? Dude's pants get ripped down. He's got this pimply, hairy ass. Toxie's hand goes all the way up that ass and rips the guts out through his ass. And I was like, this is a fantastic ass rip. Like, and that is a very trauma thing to just go like, let's get as close into the butthole as we can and show you something you don't want to see. So for me, I was like, that you're both giving me the trauma experience and the gore experience all at once.
Yeah, it was a lot. That was definitely a lot. So for me, I kind of picked one scene, not necessarily one moment, and that was when he goes and kills the corn nuts or what. I'm killing myself. I can't remember what they're
I
called.
know. I can't remember the name.
The kicking
Head
nuts or
PE.
whatever. Yeah, when he goes out there and kills Twisted, and the entire band goes down. It's just like one great just slaughterhouse scene. Ending, by the way, when they kill the weird baby chicken creature thing at the end that makes JJ puke. But yeah, I mean, he cuts off one dude's face and he chucks the mop through somebody else's head and it explodes. He kills the corn girl. Like it's just a mayhem on stage, and that's after Toxie performs what I think is somewhere between like a Ramones and a Motorhead song. I couldn't quite tell what he
It
was
was
trying to
Motorhead.
sing.
Yeah, it was overkill.
Motorhead. Okay.
It was overkill by Motorhead.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it wasn't quite the same. Like they changed it. It didn't sound quite like Lemmy. So that's why I was thrown off
No,
by
it didn't.
I was like, this sounds Motorhead, but it's not Lemmy. So yeah, I mean that was probably one of my favorite scenes, and as I said, the two things I liked about this movie were Peter Dinklage's nuclear schlong and the weird Twisted band, and then killing the weird Twisted band. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a great sequence.
Patrick, next category: remake, sequel, or leave it alone. This is pretty self-explanatory, but this is where we take whatever movie we are watching and we say, should they remake it, should they sequelize it, or should they leave it alone? Now, one thing that Macon Blair has said repeatedly in interviews that I read getting ready for this podcast is this is not a remake. It's a reboot. And the characters are different. The story is slightly different. There actually is a story. So
There is.
So this isn't a remake, it's a reboot. So technically this is not a remake of the original. So this is, it's its own thing, I guess is what I'm getting at. Much like they did that really, really awful Child's Play remake a few years ago with Aubrey Plaza. I love Aubrey Plaza, but good Lord, that one's terrible. That movie's awful. So for Toxic Avenger, Patrick, remake, sequel, or leave it alone?
Damon, I liked what I saw, and I want more. Give me more. Give me more Toxic Avenger. I want the Dink back. I want this cast back. I like what they did. Elijah Wood's character kind of takes a turn in the end. He kind of comes to the side of good. Just give me more of this. Like, why not? Why can't we get this every few years? Like, we on this show are always looking for good movies. It's very rare that we talk about a truly on purpose bad movie. So it was kind of like I said in the beginning, a refresher for me, a lot of pressure off of me to just go, this movie doesn't need to be good to succeed. So just give me more of it.
Guess what, Patrick? You succeeded because this isn't a good movie. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. I'd leave it alone. I don't need more of this. I need less, actually. I need less of what we got in this movie. So, yeah, I don't want. I mean, I understand there's a real fan fervor for these kind of movies for certain fans, and trust me when I say this is no different than I mean, it's a much bigger film, but like a movie like 28 Years Later is a very divisive film because half the people love it. Like, it's brilliant, it's genius, top 5 movie of the year, which is you and I. And then the other half is like, this movie fucking sucked. I hated it. It was the worst thing ever. I can't believe they ruined 28 Days Later, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I feel like trauma movies and Toxic Avenger being a little bit bigger scale because it's a theatrical release this time is going to have very much the same reaction. You're going to get the people who are going to say, this is brilliant, it's funny, it's goofy, it's stupid, I love it. And then you're going to get the people like me who are just like, this is stupid and not funny and goofy and I hated it. So, yeah, I don't need another one. I'm fine with what we got here. And if I really want to see a Toxic Avenger movie, I'll go back and watch the 84 one. I haven't watched it in years, and now I'm kind of scared to because
you'll be pining for this one after that.
I really didn't like this one, but I do remember liking the original when I was a kid. But I was also like 9 years old when I first saw that movie. And we've talked about the nostalgia factor. When you factor that in, it does play a powerful tool in your memory of a movie.
Damon, go watch it and report back to me. I can't wait to hear your reaction.
Next category, Patrick. Can we survive this horror film? This is a very interesting premise because I'm trying to figure out in this movie, who would we be?
I mean, we'd be side characters, Damon. Just look at us. I mean, you're 6'3", I'm 5'4". we look ridiculous standing next to each other. That's gonna play great in the background of any Toxic Avenger movie. We're also not shitheads. So the odds that you and I are in the sights of either the bad guys or Toxie are probably pretty low. We're just going to be great background characters. We're going to be able to, have fun, party hard, rock hard, and drink hard, smoke hard, sniff hard. Like we're going to have a good time in Traumaville, and we're going to be fine. That's what I think.
See, now I'm not sitting there saying we're bad guys. I don't think we're bad guys at all, but we do enjoy music. And
Sure.
we are a little off the cuff. So I could see us being part of Kickin' Nuts or whatever it's called. We would be part of that band, which means we're going to get wiped out. Because
But we wouldn't be bad guys. In the trauma world, there's plenty of mohawk wearing like weirdos with like glasses on upside down and muscle ladies that are, half naked. Like there's plenty of weirdos that are just part of the scene. And I think that would be us because we wouldn't be evil.
If you took the Kickin' Nuts band or whatever they're called and you made them good guys, they'd actually be kind of fun. Like they were kind of fun. So like we're the good version of Kickin' Nuts, and yes, I think we'd make it. But I feel like we would be like in there being like
oh yeah, we're part of the weirdos. But I mean, to me, that's a badge of honor to be a weirdo.
It is. Yeah, exactly. Last category, Patrick. Is it Toxie? So not scary because this isn't scary, but it is.
No.
It is a sci-fi comedy horror film. So Patrick, I know your answer. When it comes to the Toxic Avenger 2025, is it Toxie?
It definitely is, Damon. It's as Toxie as you need it. I think it'll still rile up some of the diehard trauma people. They'll be like, it wasn't offensive enough. I'm like, okay, well then you go watch offensive movies and have fun with yourself. Like it's. Everything else you want about a Toxic Avenger movie just made slightly better. And I love it. This may be going to the top of my trauma list in terms of trauma movies.
I'm going to say if you are a fan of, well, it's weird because you just said like trauma, there's going to be trauma fans who are going to be offended by this movie.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think generally speaking, if you were a fan of goofy, nonsensical, just bad movies, then and I'm not saying that's an insult, by the way. There are bad movies I enjoy too, by the way. There's definitely bad movies I enjoy. But like I love Roadhouse is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I know that's not a great movie, but I fucking love it. Bloodsport, I love that. I know it's not a good movie, but I love it. I think there's going to be a crowd that's going to appreciate the goofiness and the schlockiness and the over-the-toppiness of this movie. It's just not for me. And so, no, it's not. As I said, I would almost rather have just a poorly acted, just, random nudity and just bad vulgar language and just over-the-top graphics, over-the-top effects and bad acting. And I'm almost like, yeah, I kind of come to expect that from what I'm getting out of a C or a D level movie. And as I said, I'm almost offended that this is a D level movie with A level performances. It bugs me because I'm like, why would you do this, Peter? Why would you do this? What are you doing to yourself?
I love Peter more than ever for doing this. Yeah, Thank you, Peter.
Stick to 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, or Game of Thrones, or any of the other award-winning roles you've had over your career. I feel for you for this one. Toxic Avenger is in theaters right now, folks. So if you like that kind of thing, go see it. Check it out. With that being said, Patrick, we're going to get out of here. I want to say a big thank you to everyone, as always, that tunes into the show. Make sure you check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and over on our website, rewindofthelivingdead.com. And, of course, on YouTube, just search Rewind of the Living Dead. And if you want early access to our episodes, our bonus episodes, our Alien Earth recaps, go to patreon.com/rewind of the living dead. If nothing else, you're supporting your boys. It helps put a little cash in our pocket and helps us make it more financially stable for us to do this show because we don't get paid to do this show. So that really does help us out. So patreon.com/rewind of the living dead. You got questions, comments, movies you'd like us to review, hit us up anytime on email, rotlivingdead@gmail.com. That's rot. livingdead@gmail.com, or find us on social media. Once again, just search Rewind of the Living Dead. We are on Instagram, we are on Twitter/X, and we are on Facebook. So find us over there and send us your questions, your comments, your reviews, things you like to hear. If maybe you're a trauma fan and we got it all wrong, tell us all about it. You can also find us on our own personal social media channels. I am at Damon Martin, and you are?
At Director Patrick.
And a big thank you, as always, for everyone that tunes in the show. We'll be back next week with another edition of Rewind of the Living Dead. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you then.
Peace.